With the first week of Cannes currently underway, Oscars buzz is already starting up again. But how does Cannes influence the Oscars race? And how important is this glamorous film festival for the overall success of a film? Let's start by mapping it all out. The next Academy Award ceremony has been set for March 10th, 2024, which is approximately 10 months away from this year's Cannes Film Festival, which is where we are now. But that's just the date for the award ceremony. The Oscars also have other dates in the calendar that are of note, including November 15th, 2023, which is the deadline for general entries. Then voting for the shortlist, nominations, and awards happen in the months of December, January, and February respectively. Between Cannes and the deadline for general entries on November 15th, there are other prestigious film festivals that also provide filmmakers great opportunities to showcase their new creations. Festivals like Venice and most notably Toronto happen closer to the fall film release schedule, a few weeks before the entry deadline. So with Cannes in May being so far ahead of all the Oscars action in the fall, why would filmmakers choose to premiere their films at Cannes? And if they do, how do those films make a dent and remain relevant so early on in the film season? Cannes is usually cited as the most prestigious film festival in the world. It's launched the careers of many influential filmmakers, such as Quentin Tarantino when Pulp Fiction won the Palme d'Or, which is the top prize at Cannes. And that's why filmmakers crave the stamp of approval from the Cannes jury, because it's an indicator of successful artistry from a panel of cinematic tastemakers. But winning the Palme d'Or, or any of the top prizes at Cannes, doesn't usually correlate to Oscar success. Out of over 70 Palme d'Or winners, only 2 have ever snagged the Best Picture win at the Oscars, with only 15 other films winning Oscars in other categories. And while this might somewhat be influenced by the May calendar date of Cannes, it's more likely to do with the Cannes jury's film taste and curation biases. Although the latest Indiana Jones is playing at the festival this year, usually only the more artistic and sometimes experimental films get chosen to play in competition for those top prizes. Other films, like last year's Best Picture nominees Top Gun and Elvis, get screened in other categories that are out of competition. Of course, screening at this prestigious festival still allows the film to gain all the marketing benefits ahead of their theatrical release, which is usually not long after Cannes, like Indiana Jones, which will be released at the end of June. But Cannes is ultimately auteur paradise. The selection of films is usually biased towards certain types of films. Some of the more well-known ones have included Triangle of Sadness and Parasite. Usually these films don't have built-in audiences, often non-English language, or by experimental, obscure filmmakers. These films might be ones that only the film connoisseurs might watch at their local cinematheque, with lesser-known actors and harder-to-follow plots. Cannes has a bias towards films that explore the medium as an art form, which is why they often have select favorite auteurs that they constantly ask back, like Hirokazu Koreeda or Claire Denis. But although the films may be deemed as more artistic and potentially more challenging for the average audience member, it doesn't mean that after Cannes, regardless of whether they win any prizes or not, that these films don't have their own journeys to success. After all, Parasite was able to win Best Picture, and winning the Palme d'Or certainly helped it along the way. That being said, marketing and distributing films that don't naturally appeal to a wide audience can be difficult. But that's where Cannes, taking place 10 months before the Oscars, can be beneficial. Changing people's minds about anything, whether that's a film, a product, or a service, takes time. Films that premiere at Cannes in May can take advantage of the many months before the Oscars by screening the film at later film festivals to continue building awareness and exposure for the film. But every film festival draws in a different kind of crowd, all with different taste. Films that were a hit at Cannes might not necessarily get the same amount of attention at these other film festivals. Filmmakers and distributors need to use whatever press they got from Cannes to convince and influence new audiences at these other festivals to watch the film, so that they continue growing the film's exposure. Then, this broader audience group will generate even more buzz to convince and influence the set of audiences at the next festival. This happens a few times over the next few film festivals until around the last one, where the broadest cinephile group then creates buzz for the theatrical release. As you can see, it becomes almost like a pyramid shape, where each festival and the buzz it creates cascades out to reach broader and broader audiences. Each step along the way is strategically placed to influence the next step, to exponentially grow awareness for the film. Since these auteur-type films don't always have built-in audiences, it might also be tough to get the marketing right. These various points of exposure with different audiences provides distributors a testing ground before general release and the awards race. By screening at various festivals, films get reviewed and talked about in publications, which will allow filmmakers and distributors to understand which moments appealed most to audiences. From there, the film can find its niche, and it can be marketed in a tailored way with more chance of success. One last note. Although Cannes was and continues desperately to maintain its reputation of exclusivity and artistic integrity, audiences and general tastes do change over time. I believe that increased access to different types of films and attempts at diversifying perspectives in the industry will most definitely have an impact on Cannes' influence on the film season, the Oscars race, and the film industry overall. But have you been following the news at Cannes? And what are your thoughts on the early stages of the film season so far? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more spiels in the future.